Hey, I'm Anthony Romano, and this video is called, Is Keto Fat Loss Just Water Weight? Is the keto diet only gonna make you lose water weight? Well, besides the fact that I used keto for the past 9 years and I maintain a lean physique year round, and I can tell you from client work, professionally, from my own experiences, that keto will not make you lose only water weight, but I will explain the science behind that and hopefully make this video brief enough to the point where you can understand things and then get on with your day and watch more of my videos perhaps to dive deeper into this end of the pool. Also, I have a ketone supplement giveaway. I encourage you to look at the description. I also have programs coming out for keto health, keto shredding, a lot of other things that will help you get a more advanced approach with better results if you want to use ketogenic dieting or any sort of those lifestyle practices. Let's get into the video. Okay, so the primary thing I'm going to address here is what is the deal with water weight on keto? I've explained these other concepts in videos, such as the flatness that somebody might experience the first couple weeks of keto in their muscle bellies. The primary thing is that once your insulin drops, you are going to retain less water. Okay, so your kidneys will be excreting more sodium, which is why you have to initially consume more sodium on a ketogenic diet. Salt, okay? If you want to think of two things that can raise your water retention, it is carbohydrate and sodium. Okay, essentially, when we are looking at people simply drinking water, that's not necessarily going to make you retain more water in your body. Sodium and carbohydrates can both influence that. Sodium can allow you to actually retain that water and use it intracellularly. When we're looking at carbohydrates, they naturally can retain water because they are water dense. Carbohydrates are heavy, they're like water. This is why your body only stores them in muscles and it doesn't store more than 2,000 calories worth. That explains the initial water loss that somebody might have when they first start keto and how that can be essentially remedied with, sodium and electrolyte consumption, particularly sodium and potassium, but don't overdo them. And there's plenty of other videos I have on that topic. But when we're looking at the actual fat burn here, there was a video I recently put out called Do You Burn More Fat on Keto? And the primary purpose of that video is to examine a study, which I've spoken about in plenty of other videos, by Jeff Volek and Dr. Stephen Finney. It's called the FASTER study, and also their associates as well. I don't want to leave, say it's only them. But it's called the FASTER study, and this was a study that took ultramarathon runners and compared the amount of fat oxidation, so fat usage as fuel, compared between low carb groups and high carb group. And the low carb group was a ketogenic adapted model, okay? It was, these people were adapted to keto, they were on it for at least a month, and from that point their body was able to upregulate its ability to use fat as fuel, and they were fat adapted. So granted, if somebody just starts keto, you might not necessarily result in more fat loss, as I'm about to explain. You have to be adapted, and at that point you will burn more body fat. But here were the findings of that study, which I explained more so in that video. In that video, I explained that the results of the study showed people who were in the low carb group, the keto group, had 2.3-fold higher fat burn. Okay, so they were literally burning double the amount of fat as the high carb group. And granted, the high carb group was still burning a large amount of fuel from fat because these were athletes. These were very, they were specimens, okay? But the thing is, the keto group still burned more fat, and they also used their carbohydrate fuel more effectively and didn't waste as much of it as the carbohydrate group because their body solely wants to use carbohydrate. Eating too much carbohydrate locks you into a carb metabolism. Your body, when it's in excess of carbohydrate, gets the message, oh, we have lots of carbs here, so we'll just use all these, because it doesn't have any extra demand to go through fat as fuel. When you are on a diet that is deficient of carbohydrates, or not deficient because that would imply there's some sort of optimal amount that is restricting of carbohydrates, your body adapts to that stressor and sees, oh, we have to use fat for fuel here. And then when you give it enough fat, it will burn the fat from your plate and burn the fat from your weight. Just made that up now. So granted, the exercise itself in this study did stimulate the fat loss. It was, put into use because the body required that usage. But in general, we know that the body, when fat adapted, will not waste carbohydrates on activities that it could use fat for. Okay, when we are looking at somebody who is doing 90% of daily activities can be burned, supplied by fat. Okay, it's the 10% of activities that are very stressful that your body wants to use carbohydrates for. Carbs are the emergency fuel, and in nature, they were a luxury. They were only available half of the year. They don't grow in the winter. So your body wants to use those as emergency fuel for when you really have to sprint because you're being chased by a bear. That's what your body wants to use carbs for. Now, granted, this doesn't mean that that carbs are bad for you in a certain way. That's a far more dense topic, which I made a video on. But the thing is, fat itself, you can still go pretty damn fast. You can still get a gnarly speeding ticket if your body's a car, if you're running on fat. It's just that carbs are these sort of nitrous oxide, if your body's a car, that's meant to be used for short bursts, and that's it. And then from there, you coast with the fat as the rest of the fuel source. So when we're looking at the actual fat burn, keto group burned more. There's no debate over that. That's just what was demonstrated in the study. A lot of people, when they look at these keto studies, the studies that are used are short-term keto studies. They are studies that don't allow the keto group, to be adapted and actually get their body to metabolically upregulate usage of fat as fuel and adapt and create the enzymes necessary for that. But besides that point, it also makes sense logically, okay? If you're not eating carbohydrates, your body's gonna have to get better at using the other fat as fuel, okay? And again, when you want to tie it into evolutionary history and thousands of years ago, if we didn't have carbs half the year because there were no advanced agricultural practices that would allow them to be shipped over from, Colombia when they're not in season in the Western world, we simply would have to get used to that, and that would be the natural seasonal metabolism, which I talk about all the time. So hopefully this video was quick and precise for you. Leave me some comments and I'll try to answer any questions you have. I'd appreciate if you could subscribe and like this video, and follow me on Instagram, and also check out my website, RomanoKeto.com, for programs dropping on how to properly implement all these strategies I speak about. Thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Romano. Peace.